away from where you guys live in Rumson. And I brought you here today, not only because it's beautiful, take a look at all the boats, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous summer day, but because when I come to the harbor, I see lots of things that I want to learn about. I see lots of boats, and boats are something that I'm very interested in. I don't have one, but I would love to learn more about sailing and sailboats. I see the water. The water is a beautiful thing that has lots to learn about it, especially all the creatures that are living in the water. If you take a look over there, I see American flag. The American flag has been around for years and years and years, and that's something I'm very interested to learn more about. So when I go to places like the harbor, I think about all the things I want to learn more about. And that's going to work out perfectly for this week's reading lesson, because this week we're going to talk about nonfiction text features. Nonfiction, remember, are books that are teaching books that have information. So we're going to explore this week all the really cool things around us, just like what you see here, and we're going to learn about all the features in a nonfiction book that we can learn from. Let's get started. So before we learn about the features in a nonfiction book, let's remind ourselves what nonfiction really is. Remember, nonfiction stands for not fake. It's true information. And usually the purpose of reading a nonfiction book is to learn something. Many times when we're reading a nonfiction book, we're specifically looking for some information. So we would read to find that information. Another really cool thing about nonfiction books is that you don't have to read it from beginning to middle to end. You can pretty much read it in any order, looking for that information you want to know. Some of the text features we will talk about are table of contents, usually at the beginning of the book, index, usually at the end of a book, keywords, which are sometimes in bold, italicized, or highlighted, a glossary, usually at the end of a book, photographs, captions, diagrams and labels, and maps, charts, and graphs. All of these features may or may not be included in a nonfiction book. It depends on the book. Let's take a look at some examples. So one of the things that I'm really interested in learning more about are some of those animals that live in water. And I thought about this when I was down at the harbor. And one animal that came to mind that I'm really interested in is a frog. I think frogs are really cool. And I thought, okay, let me see if I can find a book on frogs, which I did. And I took a look and saw that there were tons of nonfiction features in it. If you look at the chart here, I circled and put check marks next to the features I found in my frog book. I am going to show you the table of contents, some keywords, a glossary, photographs, captions, and diagrams and labels. Now, as I mentioned before, every nonfiction book does not have all the features. So this book didn't have an index or any maps or charts. We'll use another book to explore those. Okay, so let's take a look at this awesome nonfiction book I found on frogs and see if we can find some of those features. So here's that frog book that I wanted to show you about. And I put little markers on the pages of all the features that I found. So let's take a walk through and see what I can show you. So the first marker that I have says table of contents. And if you look right at the beginning of the book is a table of contents. The table of contents tells you what the book is going to be about, the different topics that you're going to learn about. And it also lists the page numbers where you can find those topics. So for example, the first topic says splash, and it would be on page 4. Now, the cool thing about a table of contents is I can look and find a topic that I'm interested in and skip right to that page. For example, if I wanted to learn more about frog babies, I could go right ahead to page 24 and read just about that. That's again why I reminded you that you do not have to read a nonfiction book from beginning to middle and end. You can jump around. So let's take a look at the topics in this book. We have splash, croak, frog food, every size and color, watch out, frog babies, Toads and Frogs 2, Super Frogs, and then at the end, there's a picture glossary, which we'll take a look at. The next nonfiction feature that I'd like to talk about are those important key words. If you notice right here, the word habitat is in bold. The letters are darker, and that's because that's a key word that the author of this book wants you to know about. And right after the word habitat, it tells you the natural place where a plant or animal lives. So they actually give you the definition of that bold word right here. Many nonfiction books include photographs, and this book has a ton of really cool up-close photographs. The first photograph here is a picture of a lake frog, and if you notice, he's puffing out his throat. It almost looks like a balloon. On this page, again, we see another cool picture of a coqui frog, and again, puffing out his throat. It says that the frog makes a sound that sounds like coqui, which is probably why it got its name. Very cool. The next nonfiction feature is captions. Captions are a word or group of words underneath a picture that it describe or explain what's going on in the picture. And this page has a ton of captions. You'll notice all the captions are in orange. So on this first page here, we have a caption that with a picture of a tiger striped leaf frog, and the caption says, "Some are green or brown." So again, the caption describes what's going on in the photograph. Here we have a picture of an Amazonian poison dart frog, and the caption says, "Others have stripes or spots." And here's a picture to match the words. On this page, we have a caption that says, "Frogs can be red, yellow, or orange." And here is a red poison dart frog. And the bottom one, we have a caption that says, "They can even be bright blue." And here is a picture of a blue poison dart frog. The next nonfiction feature is a diagram. And a diagram is when you have a picture or a photograph that labels and draws your attention to different parts of that picture or photograph. So if you look up close here, we have a diagram of a toad, and there are labels to mark different things you might notice on a toad. For example, a toad has no teeth. A toad has dry and bumpy skin. A toad has shorter legs because they walk. A toad has eggs laid in long chains, but a few toads give birth to live young. And a toad's eyes do not bulge out from the body. A poison gland is located behind each eye. So all of these little markers show you different things on the toad's body to help teach you more than what the picture can do just by itself. At the end of this book, we have what's called a glossary. Usually it might even say the words glossary at the top. This book does not. However, I know it's a glossary because it has all those words that were bold that I was reading throughout the book in the back. And I also noticed that they're in ABC order. So the word that starts with a C, croak, comes first, followed by gills, habitat, and poison. And not only does this glossary have the definition of the word, it also gives me a picture to go with it. Very cool and helps me to learn even more. So that frog book that we took a look at had a ton of really cool nonfiction features, but there were two that were missing. Remember, they were the index and maps, charts, and graphs. So now I have a new book that I want to show you. And this new book that I want to show you is going to show us one of the features down here, maps, charts, and graphs. So let's take a look at that and learn some more about it. So the next nonfiction book that I have is called Year in Sports. And when I was down at the harbor walking around, I saw some people playing tennis. I saw some people running. I actually saw some people jumping into the water to go swimming. And it reminded me how much I love activities like that and sports in general. So this book is for the sports fans, and it covers all different sports. But inside of it, I noticed it has a lot of charts. So I want to show you what a chart looks like. Let's take a peek. So this is a huge chart that I found. And one of the sports that I really like is baseball. And this chart is about baseball. It's a chart of the World Series winners of every year the names of the teams that were in the World Series and how many games each team won. So let's take a look up close, okay? And let's peek at one. So let's go back to the year 1920. Can you see that? In the year 1920, the World Series was played between the Cleveland Indians and the Brooklyn Robins, which is a team that doesn't even exist anymore. And if you look here, it was a 5-2 score between the two teams. So the winner was the Cleveland Indians with 5 and the Brooklyn Robins with 2 games. So I could learn all about World Series teams and scores and become an expert just by studying this chart. A chart has a lot of information, usually listed in rows and columns, that teaches you information. So the last feature that we're going to take a look at today is called the index. And the index is typically found at the end of a book and has all the different topics that are covered in the book. And one thing that you can do as a reader is you can go to the index and find a topic that you want to learn about and use the index to figure out what page it's on. It is usually in ABC order, so that's how you can know where to find that specific word and how to find it quickly. And then you can skip right to that page to read all about that word that you were interested in. So this book called 5,000 Awesome Facts About Everything is a really cool nonfiction book that has many, many topics, all topics that are usually kid approved. And in this book, I wanted to take a quick peek at the index. Remember, the index is at the back of a book and has all the different topics that you can find in that book. So let's take a peek. Remember, I reminded you that the index is at the back, so I'm flipping all the way to the back. And I have it marked here with a little piece of paper. And even at the bottom, it does say the word index. And if you look, all of the words are in ABC order. So take a look at all the A words that are in this book. So for example, if I wanted to find out a little bit more about arachnids, I would go to page 17 and I would find it there. So I could scroll along. Now we've gotten to the B's. So all of those are B words, and keep going until I find whatever topic I'm looking for. So let's keep scrolling through and find a topic that I would like to learn more about. How about, octagons? How about octagons on page 75? So let's take a peek and see if I go to page 75, what I will find there about octagons. Very cool. Okay, facts you can count on. And you notice each of these has different number facts. So I'm looking around to see if I can find something about octagons. Because remember, it told me on page 75 that I would find something about octagons. Let's see if you can maybe spot it. I'll scroll around slowly. Let's see if we find something about octagons. Ding, 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 ding. I found it right here. An octagon has 8 sides. An octacontagon has 80. Wow, I didn't know there was such a thing as an octacontagon. So I guess I did learn something new from this book. So again, use that index. You can find that page that you're looking for with that topic that you want to learn more about, and your brain will get a little bit smarter. So I hope that you learned a ton today about nonfiction books and all the features that they have in them. And now that you know them all, when you're reading to learn more in a nonfiction book, you can use all of these features to really get the most out of the book you possibly can and to learn a ton of new cool facts. One last thing is that my dog Hoops, he's been listening so carefully and being such a good learner when we were learning all about these nonfiction elements that I gave him a promise. I told him if he was a good listener, he could take a dip in the pool to end our lesson. So I thought maybe you'd like to come along and watch him do that. Thanks for listening about nonfiction features, boys and girls. Have a great day.